1898, a Polish banker named Jan Bloch sat down with the new weapons, the machine gun, the long-range rifle, the high-explosive shell, and worked out exactly what the next European war would be. Not glory, trenches, stalemate, millions of men dying for a few yards of mud. He published 6 volumes. They sold across the continent, and statesmen read them. 16 years later, Europe walked into the war he had described anyway. I'm thinking about Bloch because Europe is rearming again, and rearming fast. Conscription is coming back across the continent. Sweden now turns away 9 of every 10 young people who apply to serve. German enlistment is up 20% in a single year. And let me be clear about something because it matters. The threat is real. The American umbrella is failing under Trump, and a Europe that cannot defend itself is not safe. This is not an argument against defense. It is the argument that people who loved Europe most made before 1914 and were ignored for making it. Because the danger was never only the enemy across the border. The danger was also what arming does to the society that arms. Look at what happened before 1914. Britain and Germany built battleships against each other, each new ship launched for safety, each one making the other side feel less safe. The dreadnought race did not calm the fear, it manufactured it, literally. And underneath the fear, it built something more important. Newspapers, careers, whole regions that now lived off the armed budget. A constituency. A block of people whose prosperity depended on the next ship and the threat that justified it. One man named it from the inside the German parliament. Karl Liebknecht stood up, pointed at Krupp, the great arms manufacturer, and said the weapons industry does not feed on peace, it feeds on fear. He was describing a business model. Half a century later, an American general turned president said the same thing in a suit and tie. Dwight Eisenhower warned his own country about the military-industrial complex, the machine that, once built, lobbies for its own enlargement no matter what the security actually needs. And then, there is the man who saw it all and tried to stop it. Jean Jaurès, the French socialist. Get him right, because the lazy version gets him wrong. Jaurès was not a pacifist who wanted France defenseless. He wrote an entire book, L'Armée Nouvelle, designing a citizen army built only to defend French soil. He wanted Europe able to protect itself, and he wanted it to keep the door to diplomacy open at the same time. He fought the law that stretched young men's service to 3 years. He begged the workers of France and Germany to refuse to slaughter each other. On the 31st of July, 1914, a French nationalist walked up to a cafe window and shot him dead. The man who wanted defense without aggression was its first casualty. So here is what I actually fear, and it is not that Europe spends too little to deter Russia. It is that Europe builds the machine and forgets the brakes. That it pours money into the industries, the careers, the rearmed generation, and creates, as it did once before, a bloc whose whole interest is permanent escalation, and which will call every path to peace naive. Bloch saw the slaughter and was ignored. Liebknecht named the profit and was jailed. Jaurès wanted defense and peace in the same hand and was shot for it. Europe is allowed to defend itself. The only question that matters is whether this time it also built the brakes. The diplomacy, the civilian control, the off-ramps, the people allowed to say enough. Because a continent that builds the war machine and not the brake has already made its choice. It just does not know it yet.